Hi, how's it going? I wanted to talk a little bit today about the importance of dreaming. Okay. And when I'm saying dreaming, I'm not talking about when you close your eyes and you go into dreams. I mean, like the idea of daydreaming or fantasizing or imagining, right? It has such a magical energy to it. And if you think back to when you were a kid, we used to daydream all the time about different things like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Or where do I want to go? Or the things that even led us down the path of curiosity and, like wanting to learn about certain things as we were growing as human beings. That kind of shapes your path, right? We're not curious about everything, right? I mean, there's not like, I know I love history and certain eras in history draw my attention more than others. Certain areas of the world draw my attention more than others. That doesn't mean the other ones aren't good. It's just we all have particular interests, curiosities, and we discover that through even just entertaining the idea, right? So daydreaming, thinking about, oh, what would it be like to go there? Or what can I learn here? Or, I hope that makes sense. But it's such a powerful energy to sit in because it's that energy of anything is possible. Okay. And it's important to be able to go there every once in a while. Much like I said in my last video, we don't want to be too much in our head, which is just logic based. And we don't want to be so whimsical and in our emotions that we can be led by the nose. Okay. We can definitely get manipulated more easily if we're just out here in a dream state all the time. So yes, they both serve their place. But in this particular video, I'm talking about allowing yourself to be fanciful, whimsical on occasion. How that looks for you can be very different from how it looks for someone else. But it's no less valuable. Is really important because it opens up pathways. It opens up possibility in our brain. It makes us a little more flexible with life, okay? It also helps us to kind of problem solve more easily because when we are open to possibilities, we can come up with ideas and solutions and next steps that we maybe wouldn't be open to under different circumstances. Now, I'm a Gen X. I was born in 1972, and I remember the 70s very well, and the 80s even more. So when I talk about that, I'm also going to mention the influence of things like MacGyver, okay, if we're dealing with pop culture. What a fascinating show. I think that's why I'm drawn to cooking shows like Chopped, okay? Because these people take a box of food and let their minds go to the limit. Like, what can I do with these ingredients? And each person typically comes up with different ideas. And it's fascinating to me. That's how MacGyver was, except with science, okay? Which I guess food and cooking is a form of chemistry in a sense. But, I mean, he could problem solve his way out of anything. Now, I know it's a fictional show, and they've since, which is also older now, but they redid the show with a different actor, and that was a good run too. But in any case, I digress. When you allow for possibility, when you allow yourself to not just look at what you know, but what could you learn, right? It just expands the brain. It opens up possibilities. It opens up options that you maybe once didn't even know could have been there. So yes, it helps us to be better problem solvers, but it also helps us to create our best life. Okay, and what that would look like for us. Again, that's going to be very individual. It's subjective, because what I would consider my best life is not going to pair up with every single person out here. Okay? Everyone has different ideas as to what constitutes a happy life for them. And that's okay. If we were all out here trying to do the same thing all the time, the line would be forever long, right? We don't want that. It's nice to have flavor and a unique twist. You know, it's also nice sometimes to have things in common with other people so that we're not always doing things by ourselves, but we also don't want to be afraid of doing things by ourselves, because then you limit yourself to when and how you can do things. But that's another topic. In any case, so when we allow ourselves to kind of just go outside of the limitations that maybe society has put on us, or that we have over time put on ourselves, it allows us to be more open to possibilities, and even seeing things as options and possibilities that maybe we wouldn't have noticed in previously. Okay. So to fantasize, you know, you hear the word fantasy, usually it takes kind of an icky twist. Or, you know, depends. But we can fantasize anything. I can fantasize, I don't know, living on the moon if I wanted to. Hell no, but I could if I wanted to fantasize that. It's tapping into the imagination piece, okay? So to daydream, usually when we create dreams for ourselves, like, I don't know, you know, maybe I'm gonna retire in down south somewhere, or retire in somewhere, I don't know, somewhere where I'm near the water and it's less cold, right? That's a dream, okay? Or it can be, or maybe I'm gonna open my own business, or maybe I'm gonna learn this new, I don't know, profession, and go down that path. We dream about those things, usually within the parameters of our reality, right? I'm not going to dream about being a superhero, okay? That's a fantasy. That's more imaginative, okay? We can dream about that. In fact, sometimes it can be therapeutic, quite truthfully, because it can be really self-empowering. I can be my own superhero. That's showing up for yourself. It's taking your power back, right? And how that plays out can be the fantasy part of it, right? Because that's not based in reality. Me flying with a cape, just as an example. But me flying with a cape is not based in any reality whatsoever, okay? But that is about fantasy, imagination, to elicit a certain kind of energy, okay? So if I'm feeling disempowered in my life, you know, you see this a lot with children. When they feel a certain way in their life, they may go into fantasy, because children are more apt to have magical thinking. But the more adults can tap into that magical thinking that they had as a child, the more youthful they'll remain, because they're open to possibility. They're flexible in their thinking, and therefore in how they live their life. And the slightest obstacle with that isn't going to derail them, because of that flexibility, because of that ability to see more or be open to more. Okay. So the fantasy part is more of I really need to be in this energy. Okay. Energy being, I want to be in this emotional state. Maybe I want to feel safe, so I'm going to fantasize something that makes me feel safe, okay? Maybe I want to feel happy, and I'm not happy right now. I am, just saying. So I'm going to fantasize about something extraordinary that can make me feel happy. Oh, I just won $1 gazillion. I guess that can be quasi a dream, but that's not something we can work towards, okay? You can spend millions of dollars in the hopes that you're going to hit it big and not necessarily get there, okay? Other than the fact that you just wasted millions of dollars. I remember once upon a time when I was 19, and I was living in Maryland at the time. And I was working at this gas station, and this guy would come in every week on payday, and he'd buy his tickets. He would buy his, oh my God, he would drop probably about $80 to $120, if not more. And this was back in the 90s, early 90s, okay? So that was a lot of money, because at that time, I think minimum wage was like $5, maybe less. I'm not sure. My first job minimum wage was like $3.75, I think. Anyway, and he would drop this money every week, and he was driving a beat up truck. I mean, no, it wasn't even a truck. It was a car, but it had like, you could tell that and I'm not making fun of this, because, you know, you do what you got to do. I should introduce you to my first car. At least the first one that I bought for myself. I used to have to climb through the window because the door didn't work. So I am not throwing stones. But in any case, this was a beater for sure. And had like mismatched doors, you know, stuff like that. And he was kind of hitting on me, asking me if I wanted to go out or something. And in his process of doing that, it was flattering, but he was older. And he, what did he say? He was trying to defend, you know, he said something like, I'm going to make it really big one of these days so that I can buy a new car. And I was a little less filtered back then. But I think I said something in the fact of, I'm like, yeah, but you know what? You could probably buy a new car now if you took this money and invested it into that, instead of the hope of winning the lottery. Needless to say, I didn't see him anymore. I don't know that I would be so, I guess you could say that was rude. I didn't deliver it rudely, but I was thinking logically. And I was a kid. So in any case, I didn't always have a filter. So, but that's the trap of fantasy, right? Is sometimes we can lose years there. We can lose years there. I've known people, heck, my mother was one of them, honestly, she just stopped trying because she kept fantasizing and believing that something was just going to land on her lap. And that's not usually how it happens. I'm not saying it can't, but we don't want to give away our power like that, okay? We want to utilize energies in a constructive way, in a way that serves us, doesn't take us out in a sense. And, you know, often when we really feed those types of illusions, we get stuck there. And then all of a sudden, like years later, we're like, where did my time go? So be mindful of that, okay? Again, if that is you and you're waking up and you're like, where did all this time go? I thought I had more time. You still have time, okay? So don't lose yourself back in illusion or in fantasy or whatever. Ground yourself and start moving forward. Just make sure that your dreams are realistic, because that's what dreams are meant to be, the things that we can tangibly work towards, okay? This video is talking about the importance of being able to tap into things like fantasy, imagination, magical thinking, but we don't want to lose ourselves there. That's the important piece that we need to remember, is we don't want to we want to be able to tap into that energy because it does. It opens up, it expands the brain, it expands our ability to create life and move and create anything, right? To come up with those out of the box things and then dream them into fruition by actually taking intentional action, okay? But I'm never going to be able to take intentional action to be a Superman, right? Or Wonder Woman or a superhero, period. Unless I want to be an actor. And then I can pretend that I'm a superhero. But that's different, okay? So we don't want to lose our grasp on reality, but we don't want to limit ourselves because of it either. We just need to be, this is where I say, you know, we need logic for sure, but we also need to be able to tap into those emotions/energies that helps with finding new things and growing, because life can get really mundane and boring. In the effort to remain safe, in the effort to be consistent, we can really just kick the life out of life, right? So this is the importance of being able to fantasize in a healthy way, in a way that serves us, not in a way that we create these illusions that we can get lost in, okay? Which happens when you see things like stalking or you know, bigger things where people maybe think they have a relationship with someone just because they know a few things about them, but they've never met them or something like that, right? Or losing yourself with the idea that I'm going to hit the lotto someday and therefore I can spend my money on this. And then it's almost like that addictive, you know, just thrill of what if this is the one? And I know that I'm not a gambler, but every once in a while I get a scratchy and I'm like, oh, what if this is the one? What if this is the one? So I get that thrill, which is why I don't indulge in it very often, because it would be easy to waste your money on something like that. So be mindful, okay? Yes, fantasize. Allow yourself the expansion of your brain, but be mindful of where it takes you, okay? And be mindful of what that teaches you. I guess that's it. I hope this is helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm wishing you all the best. If you've made it this far, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I'd appreciate the support because it will get messages out to more people. This isn't going to be for everyone, but for those that it is, you know, it'll give more of a chance for them to see it. So, it's my 2 cents. Have a great one, and I'll talk again soon. All right.